morning, everybody. This is Ethics Week 2025, Keeping Government Transparent and Ethical, Day 2. We are going to start our programming with my presentation going, Ethics Game Show today. So welcome, everybody. This is going to be a series of Jeopardy-style questions. Hopefully everybody who is in the room will actively participate. We will have a Slido game for you to join. So if you could get your cameras ready so you can join our game and vote on the questions and be an active part in the game today. So I'm going to move on to our joining slide. So for those of you in the room, is that working okay? We're good? Everybody got the Slido? Ready to play along at home or in the office and in the room. So I'm going to give everybody a minute in the room just to make sure that everybody who wants to join can join. Okay. Everybody good, or are we still joining?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's not supposed to be playing.
You can play. You can play. Director Cooks is allowed to play.
I'll play.
Everybody can play. Please do. The more votes, the better. Okay. We've got one or two new arrivals, so I'm gonna give people a minute to join our game. You guys wanna phones out and play along? For those of you online, if there are any problems joining, just let us know. Drop us a note in the chat. Asia, do you want to maybe put the Slido number in the chat? The 1974394. Hashtag 1974394.
Tracy's I'll be using the phone.
Yes, it's a phone camera, or you can go to slido.com and join with the hashtag 1974394. Okay, I am going to go ahead and get started with our game. I forgot to introduce myself. So good morning. My name is Lynn Tran. I am the Senior Attorney Advisor to BEGA's board, and we are about to start our game show. Okay, so we have a few different categories today. We have can they do that questions. So testing your knowledge of the rules, whether things are permissible or not. Just to see how much you guys have been reading our advisory opinions, we have the Know Your AOs column, where we will be drawing some scenarios from our advisory opinions. Director Cooks, I'm gonna want you to sit this one out. I know you know these. And then we have a case study. So the case study will take us through a series of questions. They are linear, so we're gonna keep that column working, from top to bottom of that column, but happy to start with any of the can they do that or know your AO questions. Anybody want to pick a question? What do we think? Somebody from the room? Anyone? Yes, in the back.
Can they do that for 400?
Can they do that for 400? And I'm going to approach this by saying that the values don't actually correspond to the difficulties, but let's go with can they do that for 400?
Oh.
Okay, would you like to read the question for us?
An employee of DOEE who worked on the agency's clean energy programs left the agency in June 2024 and is now working for a private company under a contract with the state of Maryland. The company has asked the former employee to contact DOEE about the status of a clean energy grant program that the former employee managed when he worked at DOEE. Is this contact permissible?
Okay, and there are a few questions, and I'm going to get to the Slido where you guys can vote, but I'll just read you the questions. Yes, it's been more than 1 year since the former employee left. Yes, none of the restrictions apply. No, the post-employment restrictions still apply. Or 4, it depends, more information is needed. So let's go to our Slido. What do we think? Yes, it has been more than a year. Yes, permissible. Yeah, none of the restrictions apply. Again, a little bit of a difference between the two yeses. No, it depends. No, the post-employment restrictions still apply, or it depends, more information is needed. Okay, everybody voting? Give you a second to vote. Okay, are we ready to see what everybody's vote is? Yes? Let's see. What do we think? Anybody just want to shout out your answer before I move on? Yes.
More information needed?
More information needed? Anybody think it's absolutely yes under one of the two scenarios?
No.
No? It's a no. Why is it a no?
Because he was involved.
Because he was involved? Okay, let's see. So the vote, 21% of you said, yes, it's been more than a year, right? Because there is the general like cooling off period of a year, but we gave you additional information about the fact that it was related to a contract, right? Nobody says none of the restrictions apply. 38% say no, just flat out no. Post-employment restrictions still apply. 42% said it depends, more information is needed. So it depends, more information is needed. And why is that? There are the 3 restrictions that are in play, right? There is the permanent prohibition on working on particular matters involving specific parties that you worked on when you were in the district government. There's also the 2-year restriction on working on matters under your official responsibility. And there's the 1-year restriction on communications and appearances before your agency. And what we say is it depends because we have that contract at issue, right? The post-employment restrictions under DPM 1811 and 18 U.S.C. 207 are very fact specific. Best practice is to always contact us for guidance. I will say that for every post-employment question, unless it is absolutely, completely clear-cut no. If you have any questions at all about whether a contact is permissible, please call us. We will give you post-employment guidance for life because there are restrictions that will apply to you forever. So again, post-employment questions, best practice, call. Okay, let's go back to our main board.
2 quick follow-ups.
Yes.
1, can I see the facts again real quick? I just want to double check something.
Okay. Let me go back. Go back. Okay, yes.
Okay, my other question is not related to the facts. I just wanted to see it again. But in a case like this, when a former employee breaks a district employee ethics rule, they're working in Maryland, what does the enforcement look like if they have violated this prohibition?
So the prohibition on the post-employment contacts, right? That applies to the employee after they've left. So there could still be a type of investigation by Director Cook's office, the Office of Government Ethics. And again, what we noted also was the federal criminal statute that applies to post-employment communications. So there are a few things that are going to be in play, even though they are no longer employed by the district government. One thing I will say is that the guidance is if you have that type of contact, one thing you should always advise the person is, I can't talk to you because you're under the restriction, so that you yourself are not subject to an investigation due to those contacts. Okay? Let me get us back to our board. Going back to our main board. Okay. Next, who wants to pick? Anybody want to pick a question? Want to stick with can we do that? Should we work backwards?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do, can we do that 300? Do I have a volunteer to read the question? No? Nobody wants to read? I will read the question. An employee of Octo is invited to a symposium on the use of AI in government by a district contractor. The contractor is not a sponsor of the symposium. Octo has concluded that the employee's attendance is in the interest of the agency. How much can the ticket cost for the employee to accept the invite and attend the event? So is it $450 or less, $350 or less, $250 or less, $150 or less? We have any guesses? And I'm gonna pull up our Slido. What do we think? 450, 350, 250, 150. Any guesses?
250.
Are we voting? Everybody voting? Okay, let's see what everybody thinks. So 7% of you say 450 or less. And why do we think it's 450? Anybody? So I put 450 in as kind of a, well, it's a decoy because under the federal government WAGs rule, it's 480 or less, but that's the federal government rule. That's not the rule that applies to district employees. So 18% of you say 350 or less, 54% say 250 or less, and 21% say 150 or less. Let's see what the actual answer is. 350 or less. So under the widely attended gatherings rule, if you are accepting a free attendance at a widely attended gathering from somebody other than the overall sponsor, so it's not the sponsor of the conference, somebody who purchased a ticket maybe, or is like, you know, just a lower level sponsor, but not the organization putting on the event, your attendance needs to be in the interest of the agency. The event must include at least 50 or more people from a range of attendees. So people interested in an issue or from a particular sector. Fair market value of the free attendance must be valued at 350 or less under the district government rule. Do we have any questions about this one? Yes.
So if it's a sponsor of the event, how does that make different?
So if it's a sponsor of the event, then we actually don't need to look at the value of the ticket. We still look at, is your attendance in the interest of the agency? So has your agency determined that it's in your interest to attend? And we look at the attendees, but we don't need to look at the value of the ticket that's being offered to you. So that's the primary difference between it's coming from the sponsor and it's coming from somebody other than the sponsor. Okay. Anybody else?
Where can you find this information then, for example, if you want to?
Where can you find this information? So this information that I'm giving you is all available kind of on our website, where we will link to the rules, the statute, the regulations that apply that comprise the code of conduct. We have the ethics manual available on there. We have opinions that are available on there. So all of that information is available. If you have particular questions, you can contact us. We'll help you answer the questions, and we'll generally provide you with links to the various resources so that you can have that information available if you need it. Okay? Okay, I'm going to go on to back to our main board. Okay, do we have any questions? Yes.
Question from the chat.
Yes.
Would a donation agreement need to be completed?
A donation agreement, not for acceptance of free attendance at a widely attended gathering, that falls under the gifts rule. The donations would apply kind of more for, I guess, Asia, like
if you were maybe invited to travel for
travel
a conference or something like that, you can accept the free attendance to the conference, but you cannot accept
transportation, lodging. Right. So the free attendance is your attendance at the actual event. It doesn't include the ancillary parts of getting you to and from the event that may need to fall under a donation type agreement. It also doesn't involve kind of attending events that are not part of the conference. So say you're invited to that conference and you're there at the conference and you meet like a vendor there and they're like, oh, like I'd love to go to dinner with you. We can talk more about, you know, the conference or whatever. That dinner needs to separately fit under an exception to the gifts rule because it's not part of the conference. So we would analyze that separately. Okay. Moving on, since we are backtracking on our questions.
question.
You have another question, Asia?
What about the GSA per diem schedule?
So the GSA per diem schedule, I don't quite know what that's referring to, but also the GSA limits and the limits that I mentioned earlier under the federal gifts rule are different than ours. So what we would look to is that 350 limit if it's not coming from the sponsor, and you know, the other category, other like factors under the widely attended gathering.
Yeah, I think that's separate.
Okay.
I think we do follow the federal GSA schedule for like travel.
For travel,
and stuff.
but not gifts.
That is for if we are directly traveling on behalf of our agency, right? So it doesn't really play into this conversation.
It's not a gift issue because nobody's offering that to us. It's the district kind of paying
Right.
for our travel. And we're gonna keep working backwards here. Can they do that for 200? Do I volunteer or am I still gonna keep reading? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. Hiring manager at DDOT receives a listing of interviews for the day. He sees his brother-in-law on the list, tells his manager that the nepotism statute prohibits his participation in the interview, recuses himself from the panel. The hiring manager participates in other interviews that day and takes part in discussions of candidates other than his brother-in-law. Did the hiring manager properly recuse himself? It's a yes or no question here. So are we ready to vote? Did he properly recuse himself under the facts that we have here? Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Anybody want to shout out an answer and why? Anyone? See what you guys thought. This is a fairly even split. 52% say yes, properly recused himself. 48% say no. And the answer is no, because he did not actually recuse himself, right? He did not follow the recusal process. He just said, I'm not doing the interview. He didn't file a written statement of recusal. And under the DPM, he's prohibited from directly or indirectly making any hiring decision involving a relative, which means not participating at all in that hiring process. So it's not enough to say, hey, I can't sit in on this interview. You're still taking part in the process because you have interviewed other people, you are weighing in, you are ranking candidates, you are having input, and you can't have any input in that hiring process at all. And again, the recusal needs to be in writing. So didn't recuse himself, and he still participated in the process. Do we have questions, Kevin? Any questions from the room?
Since they shouldn't be involved in other interviews.
Absolutely correct. You should not be involved in the other interviews at all. That's absolutely correct. So, yes.
Sorry, I just walked in, but
Of course.
it's a position that he will indirectly be supervising.
It's not clear from the hypothetical, but it's a position that he's on the hiring panel for. So whether he would supervise or not, he's still on the hiring panel.
Influence.
Got it.
So that the problem is,
Oh,
that-
okay.
yeah,
Is indirectly or directly making hard
Yep.
involving a relative.
Right.
Okay, so he shouldn't be on it for anything.
he shouldn't be on the panel, any of the panels for
Right.
that position.
Yep.
So he shouldn't be involved in the hiring process for that position. Once he realized that his brother-in-law had applied, that's when he needs to take himself out of the entire process.
So interview.
Do we have any other questions? Move back to our main board. Okay, great. We're still on, can they do that? Okay. Can a district employee host a campaign event? Yes, we can host. No, we can't host. Maybe. All right. Oops, join the quiz. Let's see, what is, can they, okay. Can they host? What do we think? Yes, no, maybe. Any thoughts from the room? Any thoughts from online? Before I give you guys the answer, see where we are. 14% say yes, they can host a campaign event. 38% say nope, can't do it at all. And 48% say maybe. And you guys are learning because I didn't really give you a lot of facts in that scenario, right? It's just can they host an event? And it depends. It depends on what type of event. So I put up here one of our quick guides for permitted political activity, what you can and can't do. One of the things you can do is host like a meet and greet where you're just talking, you're talking to candidates. The candidate is meeting potential constituents. But what you can't do is host, say, a fundraiser. So if your campaign event is a campaign fundraiser, can't host that. Can't have it at the house. Can't be on the host committee. Can't send out solicitations. Can't send out invites. That's prohibited under the Local Hatch Act. So you guys who have learned that a lot of times the answer is maybe and call BEGA, that's the correct answer. Okay, oops. Okay. Go back to our main board. Okay, we're now on Know Your AOs. Do we want to start at the top or the bottom? Working our way up or down?
Down.
Down? Okay. Let's start with Know Your AOs for 100. BEGA is initiating an investigation concerning alleged retaliation at ABCA. As part of the investigation, OGE has reviewed the policy concerning case assignments, reached out to some auditors that reported to the supervisor under investigation to gather some more facts. Auditor Thomas did not wish to participate in the investigation, declined to give any statements to OGE. May the auditor refuse to participate in the OGE investigation? Again, these scenarios are all drawn from various advisory opinions. So if you've been reading the opinions, you should know the answer. So let's get ready. Can he decline to participate in the investigation? Yes, doesn't really know anything, not worth his time, he's super busy, just not something he wants to be a part of. No, really does need to, take part in the investigation because he's been asked about it and he may have relevant information. Not up to him to decide if he has relevant information. What do we think? So 28% of you say that you could decline to participate in an Office of Government Ethics investigation where you've been asked to sit down and talk to investigators, provide information. 72% of you say no, and that is correct. So under the DPM, 1801.3 requires an employee to fully cooperate with any investigation, enforcement action, other additional function of the Office of Government Ethics. Additional provisions address the requirement to immediately and directly report credible violations of the Code of Conduct, to not interfere or obstruct any investigation. So I've linked to the relevant cooperation and retaliation advisory opinion that this hypothetical was drawn from. Do we have any questions about it? So if you are asked to participate in an investigation, if one of our investigators gives you a call and says, I'd like to set up a time to talk about whatever they're looking into, then under the DPM, you are required to assist and participate in the investigation. Failure to do so could subject you to kind of an investigation of your own. So depending on the facts. Do we have any questions from the chat? Any questions from the room? Okay, great. I'm going to move on. Going to Know Your AOs for 200. Employee was promoted to a new position at a district agency on September 1st, 2024. Employees' duties in her new position include reviewing contracts for procurement services, preparing bid documents, monitoring the performance of vendors. In the new position, she earned a salary of $165,000. At the end of September 2024, the employee left her position for private sector employment. On April 15th, the employee received an email from Office of Government Ethics informing her that she has been designated as a public financial disclosure filer for 2025, reporting on 2024, and that her statement is due on May 15th. What should the employee do? Let's go to our questions. She should file. She's been designated as a filer. She should file. Why is she asking more questions? She should ignore the notice. It looks like spam and who knows who these people are who are sending her the notice. She thinks it looks weird. She just doesn't even read it. You should never ignore notices, by the way, FYI. Don't ignore the notices. It is not spam. You should read it. Just to give you a hint, just a little hint, she should contact us.
Yeah.
Figure out what she
Y'all,
wants.
I will contact you.
Contact us.
Isn't there obligation to file that quicker than that after you end your employment?
So if you leave, you should file the termination report. A lot of people don't. So if you don't file your termination report, you still need to file for the next year. So
But you're supposed to do.
you're supposed to file, and we appreciate everybody who files as required when they leave service.
Yeah.
Best practice, you file on your last day and you turn in your computer. Just makes everybody's life easier.
Yeah.
So
The statute says that you have 90 days from separation to file a financial disclosure statement. However, we do have like an informal internal policy that if you don't file in the 90 days, but you end up filing during the next financial disclosure season, as long as you're properly reported by the ethics counselor and you do file by that deadline, we will not fine you. But we definitely want everybody
we
to
want
file upon separation.
we
90 days.
want you guys to reinforce to your agencies that people should file their termination reports upon their departure. That way we don't have to be looking for you several months later. So what did we have in terms of the votes? 34% of you said just file, she's been designated. What's the question? Nobody said to ignore the notice, probably because I told you guys not to ignore us. But 66% of you said to contact BEGA. And you're right. So a few different things in play here. There's that termination notice issue, right? But also we said that she moved into the filing position September 1st, and you have to be in the filing position for more than 30 days in a calendar year to qualify as a filer. So she gets the notice and she's like, I don't know what's going on here. She should call us, right? Because it doesn't look like she met her 30-day limit. So it's unlikely that she would need to file, but we want to make sure that we don't miss anything. So she should call. She shouldn't just ignore the notice. She shouldn't say, I know I wasn't there for 30 days. I'll just ignore it. Because if we haven't made that assessment, then we're still going to think that she's going to need to file. We will be sending her repeated emails that she should not ignore. She could be fined for not filing, even though if she contacted us, we may make that assessment that she might not need to file. So, yes,
Couldn't she also reach out to her ethics counselor?
she should. Yeah.
Okay.
But even the ethics counselor would then still need to reach out to us because then she's already been reported on our list. So we would need some reason to take her off the list.
Right. And so if she just reported directly to you all, will you all then notify?
Yeah. So we communicate regularly with ethics counselors. So, yes.
If she did not contact BEGA and filed anyway, what's the?
I mean, there's no harm
Yeah.
in filing, right? So she could be like, oh, I didn't know, I'll file. But if she didn't have a filing obligation and maybe she didn't want information, because she's a public filer, right? It goes on the public record.
Sure.
So there's no obligation for her to file. She may not want to have to disclose that information. Yeah. Yes.
Just the penalty for not filing.
$300. If you are a non-filer or you are late enough that you incur that penalty. So we have, I think, a raised hand. Do we have something in the chat, Asia? Somebody has raised their hand.
Sorry. Let me see here. The last thing I see is contact BEGA.
It was the exact from the previous question.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I think.
So then I'm going to move back to our. I can't make it. If they could just drop the question in the chat, I think that's probably easier than us.
Yeah, I think it'll be an echo.
Yeah, if we can just, if you could just drop if you're online, if you could just drop your question in the chat. I think there are, for tech reasons, if we try to unmute you, there will be some weird echo and nobody will be able to hear you. Can circle back to that if something comes up. So I'm going to head back to our main board.
Let's put a question.
So the question is, if I said that an agency incorrectly designated somebody and they could be fined for not filing, I said that if the person was designated and she did not contact us or her ethics counselor for us to assess whether she should properly have been designated, then they could be subject to a fine if we don't know that she was not improperly designated. We didn't have a chance to confer with her and her ethics counselor. We didn't have a chance to review kind of the circumstances of the designation. We wouldn't know that it's not a proper designation if we don't have that information. Okay? Okay, I'm going to go down to know your AOs. Next one, we have a DOH employee is complimented on her work by the president of health services, I can't read this, healthcare services, who asked her to call if she's interested in leaving district government employment. Employee tells the president that she cannot discuss future employment while she's working on the project with healthcare services, but maybe is interested in talking more when the project is completed. Is the employee seeking employment at this point? And we're going to get to our Slido. Let's get ready to vote. Is she seeking employment? Yes, she's not declined an offer. No, there's no discussion of the terms and conditions of employment, so there's no offer on the table, and that's the third option. So, yes, she's declined. No, there's no discussions of the terms and condition, and no, there's no offer. This is all over the place. So yes, 30% of you say she's declined the offer. But did she decline the offer? So 50% of you say there's no discussions of the terms and conditions of employment, so it's not a problem. And 20% of you say, 20% of you say, no, there's no offer.
You got it. You got a
He
question in
offered
the
her to
chat?
come work for him.
I'm sorry?
Didn't he say, I want you to come work with us? Isn't that an offer?
So she has not declined the offer, right? So she is in, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, she has not declined the offer. That's right. So somebody has said, hey, I'm interested in you working with us. And she said, I can't talk to you now, but maybe later, right? Right? That's the problem. I'm sorry, Asia. You said there was something in the chat?
I'm not quite sure if this was for the FDS question or this one, but it says, did you say that if the agency, oh, you answered it, sorry.
That's okay. Are there any questions for this employment negotiations? Yeah, so as Maurice was talking about yesterday, right? She hasn't declined. So declining the offer would mean, hey, I'm not interested, or, you know, just a flat out, hey, I'm not interested. And then if she was interested later, it would be a different situation. But she's just said, yeah, I can't talk to you now. I'm in the middle working on your project. We'll see. So if you're going to decline, then you need to actually decline. And if you're not going to decline, then you are in the situation where you now have a conflict of interest, right? You have a conflict because you're in negotiations with this prospective employer, and you're working on that project that has a direct and predictable effect on the financial interests of that employer. You need to submit a written recusal, take yourself out of the project. So she's got herself in a little bit of a trouble by not actually declining the offer at the table, especially if she's not actually interested at that point, right? Yes.
Just to confirm, we say offer, we mean offer to negotiate or talk about future employment.
Right.
We don't mean like she actually has to be offered.
Right. She doesn't need a job. Like, she doesn't need a job on the table. She doesn't even need, like, you know, what she has is somebody that has expressed an interest in employing her, and she has not declined to pursue that interest. That's why she's in negotiations, because it's negotiations as well as, you know, when the prospect of the job is open. It would be the same as if she had sent in a resume to the company. She's still in that same position of considering maybe working. Okay?
Question in the chat.
Yes.
If she declined the offer, does she still need to recuse herself from the project?
So if she declines the offer, then she doesn't have the conflict anymore, and the recusal would not be required. So the fact that she did not decline the offer is why she has that conflict. Oops. Yep, there we go. Should not reject the unsolicited offer, merely deferred the discussions. She's begun seeking employment. She's now an affiliate, and that's now an affiliated organization. And I've linked to the seeking and negotiating employment advisory opinion. Okay. Go down to know your AOs. Last one. Director of the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and Culture, performs with a troupe as an improv comedian in her spare time. She runs an official X account under DCMONC Director that primarily retweets other official DC government content. And there's a separate, the agency has a separate official account under the DCMONC that highlights similar content. Every once in a while, the director's account tweets about her own comedy shows, promotes other artists and shows that she finds personally interesting. Is this permissible? And this is coming from the DCMONCDIR account. So I'm going to get our Slido. Are the tweets that we're talking about personally promoting things that she finds interesting? Is that okay? Yes? No. 100% no. You guys have learned. You guys have learned that the answer is clearly no, because the official account is to be used for official purposes only and should not be used for any personal promotional activities of your own or other people. So you shouldn't be using it to promote yourself. You shouldn't be using it to promote other people. You should keep your own personal account for that and not mix official and personal in that way. So I linked to our social media use for official purposes advisory opinion that talks a little bit more about that, but you guys clearly learned the lesson. Do not use your official account for any personal reasons. Okay. And we are heading back to the main board and finally at our case study. And we're gonna
Sorry, one question about advisory opinion. So what force or authority do they have in like the larger scale of like BEGA investigations or, yeah?
Oh, in terms of whether you can rely.
Correct. Yeah.
So the advisory opinions, there are two types of advisory opinions. There are the specific ones where somebody has asked us to opine on their particular situation and they provided us information. And to the extent that the information they have provided us is accurate, the opinion that we render to them can be used. They can rely on it for their particular circumstances, right? And if anything happens in the context of any investigation, they can rely on their advisory opinion. Again, as long as the information that they have provided us and that we have based the opinion on is accurate. For everybody else, it's a general guideline. Like we do, in addition to specific advisory opinions, we do kind of general advisory opinions on issues that we've been seeing. So those are not to a specific person. It's intended to provide guidance to district employees and agencies in terms of how the rules work. So it's not going to be, it's not going to shield you in the same way because it's not particularized to you and your circumstances, but it is general guidance on how we would approach particular issues.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go into our case study and we'll walk through. So we have Ellen, and Ellen is going to be very busy in our case study. She oversees the district's summer camp programming for DPR. She works Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 with one telework day on Friday. She's applied for a part-time position as a teacher with Kids Camp, a nonprofit that runs aftercare programs. Can she accept this position at Kids Camp? And she probably should have asked that question before she applied, but we're asking it now. Can she accept the position with them? So what questions do we need to ask? And you guys can maybe put some questions in the chat. What do we think we need to ask to see if Ellen can accept this position? She works at DPR on summer camp. She's applied for this position on after. What's the schedule?
Yeah.
What are the hours? What are the hours of the other position?
But she's supposed to be working from home on Fridays.
Supposed to be working from home on Friday. So these are all good questions. And you guys have seen this infographic before that Asia did. That is a wonderful infographic to kind of provide a highlight of questions that you need to ask when you're considering outside employment or other outside activity. So is it going to interfere with your job? Are you taking too much time off? Are you taking an hour off every day? Some of the things we talked about yesterday. Are you going to be using resources? Are you going to be asking other employees to help you? Are you capitalizing on your position in any way? Are you releasing confident? All of these questions that we've gone through in pretty good detail yesterday, these are the types of things that you need to ask and Ellen needs to ask before she can consider whether to accept that position. So we actually didn't, I didn't give you an answer for that because it depends, right? We need to ask these questions. We need to sit down with Ellen and figure out whether it's permissible or not. So we're moving on to the next, the 200. Ellen has determined that she could take that position at Kids Camp. And we've walked through all of the various provisions, and her ethics counselor and Ellen and us, if they've consulted us, have sat down and we said, okay, it's fine. But they're now expanding. They asked Ellen for leads on vendors they can add to their after-school programs in DC and summer programs in other areas. Ellen gives them information on vendors she worked with at DPR. Did she violate the code of conduct by giving Kids Camp, her outside employer, information on DPR vendors? Quiz. Yes, no, maybe. What do you think?
You can select more than one.
So 57% of you say yes, and 48% of you say maybe, 5% say no. Yes, maybe. Right? So Ellen is providing information about these DPR vendors. Is she providing information that is not otherwise available to the general public? That's going to be a problem, right? Because that's using confidential information. But if she's just saying, publicly available, DPR has these vendors, we know that because there's a booklet where they say who runs their programs, and the information she's providing is, yeah, I know that vendor, I've worked with them, I had a good experience, right? That's not the same as saying providing confidential information on vendors that is not otherwise available to the general public. So, but the issue on this one also, and the reason I think I put that also as a yes, is you can't capitalize on your title or position, and again, can't divulge information not available to the general public. So going back to our main board and to Ellen's troubles with Kids Camp. Ellen has now joined the board of Kids Camp. She's listed on several contract proposals, and she's careful to avoid working on any summer camp programs because she wants to avoid the potential conflict of interest with an overlap with her job at DPR. So is that enough? Is avoiding working on summer camp proposals enough to cure the potential conflict? Did Ellen finally figure out kind of how to deal with her Kids Camp outside activity? Yes. Yes, it's enough. 92% of you say no, and 92% of you are right. So under the DPM, you cannot serve in a representative capacity or as an agent or attorney for any outside entity involving a matter before the district. Ellen can't be on these contract proposals. Her name can't be listed because then she is representing a third party, Kids Camp, an entity that she has a fiduciary obligation to as a board member in a matter that the district has an interest. I also like to highlight the counterpart federal criminal statute, 18 U.S.C. 205, which prohibits acting as an agent or attorney in connection with a matter in which the district is a party or has a direct and substantial interest. So Ellen should not be on those contract proposals. Ellen should not be the point of contact for any contracts that her nonprofit organization might have with the district. We're down to the last question about poor Ellen and her attempt at outside activity. She's still on the board. So she's still on the board of Kids Camp. She's told staff, I can't be on the proposals. I can't be on the contracts. I can't be involved at all in kind of the district contracts, removes herself from any discussions in board meetings that involve contracts with the district. Because again, Kids Camp has now moved into like various different contracts with the district. Is she finally in compliance? Did Ellen finally figure out how to make this work?
About the last one.
Okay, maybe we can roll that into this one.
Is there any issue with her showing favoritism toward vendors by identifying them as vendors, even if they're publicly available?
Depends on how it's done, right? So I think you'll find that a lot of the answers is going to be, it depends, you should call us and we can talk through the scenarios. But we'll go back to Ellen. Is Ellen finally in compliance? So this is our last Slido. Yes, Ellen is good. She's finally figured it out. No, she still has some problems. What do we think? 39% of you say, yes, Ellen, you've got it. You figured it out. You've managed to make this work. It's been a long journey, but you're good. 61% of you say, still have a problem. 61% of you are correct. So before I get to the answer, we're gonna congratulate our top voters, 9 out of 11. So congratulations all. Here's why Ellen still has a problem. She didn't submit a written recusal to her supervisor and to BEGA because we told you that Kids Camp has contracts to run summer camps, right? Ellen's not involved in those contracts. She's not listed on those contracts. She hasn't submitted a written recusal so that her agency knows that what the problem is, what the potential conflict is, and she hasn't submitted that explicit statement that she will not take action in matters affecting the financial interests of this affiliated organization. So it's not enough to say, I recognize there's a problem. I'm not going to take part in it. I've taken myself out of the process. You still have to go through that written recusal process in order to meet the requirements. So that is our last slide. Oops, sorry, I'm going to get us back here. And there we go. We have any questions, either from the room or from the chat? Our contact information for you. Slides. Any questions?
Do we get a copy of the presentation?
We will be sending out copies of the presentations. So we get to where okay. Here is our contact information if you have any questions. If there are no additional questions, thank you everybody. And that concludes the game show presentation for the day. Our next presentation, Asia, is
At 11:15.
Is at 11:15.